Well, welcome back to the James Project. James here. Not many to go now with the press conferences, but we find ourselves with the Ubisoft conference right now. So I feel that we may see some cringe moments, but then again, that's just Ubisoft. So as the show begins, I was genuinely surprised that Ubisoft turned 30 this year, which is a hell of a milestone. And what better way to crank up some Queen and very colourful dances to bring into the first game of Just Dance 2017. Announced that Just Dance 2017 will be coming to all video game platforms and PC and Nintendo NX in 2017, and this is actually the first time there's been any mention of the Nintendo NX. So in a way, that confirms that there is a new console for Nintendo, but we are yet to know or even see any mention of this possibly at their conference. Maybe we will see it in their live stream, not sure. Now, once again, the show was hosted by Asia Tyler, who actually had her very own sort of late show monologue. So she did talk about the Orlando shootings, as well as had some jokes in regards to why she's there for the press conference, and it's not about the money, but she's there for the games. Now, officially, the first gameplay to be shown was Tom Clancy's Wildlands. A pretty good decent amount of time was spent on a demo that showcased a full four-player fire team working together to take out a cartel target. It felt like an actual repeat of the Division demo where they actually had four people communicating with each other. Possibly it didn't feel like it was very scripted. Showcasing the 4 points of view from each player that entered the complex to raid. They also showed that one of the characters has a drone to deploy to recon and tag enemies. It's only one that we saw, maybe all of them do have that, not sure. Tagging was shown as well for the enemies, which is always a great mechanic. Now as the demo continued, the characters had to chase their target and jumped into vehicles for the pursuit. It ended with the players extracting the target, and then it was then announced that the release date for the game was March 7th of 2017. So a little while to wait, but it could be exciting. The game looked great. The communication seemed a little bit unreal, but it seemed to have worked out perfectly. But the vibe I immediately felt was that it felt like The Division. Running animation seemed the same, maybe? I don't know if that's just me, but also the graphics felt not as sharp as it was. Like, Ubisoft have got a reputation of showing, say, downgraded graphics or graphics that doesn't look good, but maybe that's because of the stream. I don't know. But comparing to last year, it just didn't seem, I don't know, all that sharp or all that amazing. The switching between the first person and third person felt like it was a great mix between Rainbow Six Siege and the third person, The Division. But time will tell. But overall, I really liked the presentation. The unexpected opening for the next game was actually South Park, the Fractured But Whole, with Matt Stone and Trey Parker co-hosting the segment, explaining the story and showing a bit of gameplay. They showed that some of the fighting mechanics were retained from the previous game of Stick of Truth. Now there was actually two things that they mentioned. Firstly, it was with space, so players not being restricted to the location that they're fighting, but can move tactically. They can move behind cover. They can push and pull enemies, but also enemies can do that to them as well. Knocking enemies into the environment and knocking enemies into other characters to continue a chain combo and even sneak in another attack. Secondly is time. Talking about farting that can rip the fabric of time, that enables the chaining of the turn order and teleporting around the battlefield. I was a little bit confused by that part. They announced that with buying the Fractured But Whole, we'll get Stick of Truth for free. So even pre-purchase the game right now through the store at store.ubi.com. People can get the Stick of Truth and play immediately. To end the segment, they put out an official trailer and revealed that the release date for the game is actually the 6th of December of this year. It was a really good presentation, a lot of humor, and there was a nice reveal of gameplay and even the lore of the game. So it was impressive, and I think I know what I'll be doing in my downtime around Christmas. More information was then released for the next segment of Tom Clancy's The Division. Some information was detailing the next expansion of the Underground, or The Division The Underground, for June 28th release. They are also celebrating the 30th year of Ubisoft, and they are going to release 3 different outfits for the game that include Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, and Rainbow Six Siege. But that is only applicable to players who are part of the Ubisoft club. So they also talked about a new expansion called Survival, which is an expansion that will be coming out in the near future, which they coupled with the trailer. Again, I did mention that when they had the segment at Microsoft about The Division, I didn't really care about that, what they really had to say in this segment as well. But for those that were, that are playing the game now and were very interested, it felt like it was a segment just to explain what was coming up in terms of the expansion pack and new content with the skins. Other than that, I mean, that was it. So nothing really new. It was just stuff that they were elaborating on that they had already first announced when the game was released. For those who, of course, purchased the season pass and stuff. So the next and first segment for Ubisoft was to feature, I say first, because the first time we can see actually VR, was for a game called Eagle Flight. This game was teased last E3, in which that it is virtual reality by flying in the eyes of an eagle in Paris. So I can't say that I was interested with the premise of it last year, but when this came up, I couldn't help but be interested to see what they had were going to bring out for the presentation. And what they did was they actually decided to do a first PvP match, or person versus person gameplay for Eagle Flight. So 6 players on the couch was on the stage, 3 versus 3 with a commentator calling the action. So the game was just a simple first to 3 capture the flag sort of game, or capture the prey. It looked interesting enough, but noticing that at some points when the camera panned out that the players on the couch looked kind of hilarious. At one stage I thought they were maybe going to bump into each other, but it was, I don't know, maybe it was disheartening that I felt that the graphics for the game looked a little basic. But as far as I can tell, and from what I know a little bit, I could be judging this a little bit too harshly, because the sacrificing of the graphics for the speed and the space that the eagles can fly around, I mean, that could be one of them. And secondly, the technology has not been developed for, say, like HD gaming, so for like real, the graphics look a little bit cartoonish or kind of basic. So yeah, maybe in the near future we'll be seeing maybe Eagle Flight or other games be a little bit more high definition and more sharper, but not sure. Now the next segment, which was another VR game, which was actually unexpected for me, was the Star Trek game, specifically called Star Trek Bridge Crew. It captivated me quite a lot because it's shown, as they did with their demo video, there was 4 players. 3 players were actually actors from different Star Trek movies. LeVar Burton from Star Trek The Next Generation, Carl Urban from Star Trek Beyond, and Jerry Ryan from Star Trek Voyager. The 4th player was actually a representative from Ubisoft Red Storm, which was a David Wojciechowski, who was guiding them. And looking at the actors' reactions to the game, it looks as if they had a lot of fun playing it, because it is a game that is based on communication, teamwork, and mainly in a LAN setting. I don't know how this would work if you were going to be playing it maybe in different households, but they were all in the one room. Now I can't remember if there was a game that had the same premise. I think there was, but I can't remember what the title of it was, where players had to be working together on a starship and they had to have a captain giving the orders, and engineers, and calling out what they had to do. And they had a short interview with LeVar Burton, who came onto the stage talking about his experience. I felt his interview was really incredibly genuine, and it really won me over. I mean, it's actually kind of made me think that I would want to pick up a VR kit to try it. They announced that the game will be out on all major VR systems in fall USA time, so that's very soon. Now, next up was actually For Honor, a game that I've been wanting to play for a really long time. I played a couple of games of Chivalry, and I've always been interested in that sort of first-player combat. So, For Honor, with the different factions that's going to be available, cannot wait. The speaker who came out was a guy named Jason Vandenberg, the creative director. Now, the reason why I mention his name fully is because not only did he explain the lore and the different factions, because the demo that was shown was supposed to be one of the campaign stages for the Viking factions, but I immediately wanted more because as he was narrating, his voice was really intriguing when he was presenting it. And the demo that was narrated as well, I felt that maybe he was narrating in the game. That's how good his voice was, and I was immediately captivated because his presentation was really strong from the beginning, and all the way up until, of course, when the demo had ended. So the demo was explaining that it was showcasing that it felt like it was a run around sort of beat 'em up sort of brawler. It felt very Dynasty Warriors, maybe a bit of chivalry, but it was all in third person. And it was showcasing the Vikings that would be versing against the Samurai, of course, which is the other faction. There was no showing of the third faction, which was the Black Knights, or the Knights. The mechanics, though not explained, looked like they could be a parry and block system, and defensively it was, on offensive basis, it was a trigger of the right stick in order to perform the moves, like in 3 different directions. The moves felt like they had to be flicked with the right stick. I believe that the demo confirmed that it was played by a controller, but what I wonder is how would this be translated to, say, PC? As I see myself purchasing the game on PC, not on console. Though if I play on PC, I've always got the choice of playing with the controller. The demo ended with a boss fight with a samurai, presumably the lord of the castle stronghold. The samurai sounded like he was voiced by Crispin Freeman. They also confirmed a release date on the 14th of February of 2017, so that's Valentine's Day. They also announced that if you needed to be part or wanted to be part of the beta that will be coming up, say maybe in the next couple of months, just to visit forhonor.ubisoft.com and to register. So from death, Viking, samurai, and glory to a more G setting was Bud the Red Robot, a platforming game with the difference in which the robot can change and manipulate himself at will to try and find, well, a home or a goal. I'm not very familiar with the series, but it is a sequel from Grow Home, and that will be released in August 2016. So not long to go, in just a very short few months. So the next segment was actually a really cringy moment. It was the senior creative director of Trials and the creative director of Blood Dragon coming together to showcase their new game of Trials and the crazy world of Blood Dragon. So showing gameplay with motorbikes as the usual trial method, but with minecarting as well as a drone car, and as well as running and gunning, and even shooting for vehicles. So the game is available right now for purchase on all platforms. Up next was the movie producer Frank Marshall, who took time, or Ubisoft had made time, to talk about the new Assassin's Creed movie starring Michael Fassbender. This I feel was a really strange thing to showcase at E3, because E3 is about video games and it's not about movies. But I mean, Assassin's Creed started off as a video game, so as I was taken aback a bit by the interview, I mean, they showcased the behind the scenes feature, which was kind of cool to watch, with the interviews with the director and Michael Fassbender. But again, it just felt a little bit out of place that they were showing that in a conference that's predominantly about video games. But the movie is set to be released in the 21st of December of this year. I know I'll be set to watch that as well. Now, we were all expecting what was going to be like the hot topic, and that hot topic was going to be Watch Dogs. Doing the narration, introducing it, was Jonathan Morin, which is the actual creative director. He talked about the mechanics of the game, I mean hacking, go figure, the new protagonist and locale. Now, it isn't Aiden Pierce, but it is a man by the name of Marcus Holloway, an African American who is part of the hacker group DedSec. The locale is not Chicago, but it is now in San Francisco. presumably around in the area of Silicon Valley. But obviously that's not confirmed. The demo continued, showing that Holloway was tasked to download sensitive information from a politician or in their house who was rumored to be corrupt. Holloway is not alone on this. He works with a hooded man by the name of Wrench, who wears a outlandish mask. And the eye section of the mask show different emoticons, which show the emotions, say like the @ hashtags, computer symbols. Now Holloway has a variety of tools that are shown in the demo. Of course, he has the hacking for the phone. He can actually hack multiple targets around him immediately, in one sense. He can also hack cars. He also has a drone to fly in places that he obviously can't reach, and he can tag enemies with that. He also has a ground rover, or like a remote control drone, that can hack terminals remotely. Now, in the demo, Holloway seems to have a lot of weapons at his disposal. He showcased he had a stun gun, which I've been told is like a 3D printed stun gun. A stun grenade, but it's not really a grenade. It's more like it presents like this electrical field that any non-player character walks into it, they get instantly downed. In close quarters, it looks like he has some sort of like a yo-yo or a snooker ball attached to the end of a rope, and he swings and takes out targets. So he doesn't really use his fists in that way. It's that particular weapon. Now, the demo at first had me quite interested in it for the first half, but by the end of it, the interest had sort of withered. It just felt like Aiden Pierce all over again, glossed over with a few gadgets and mechanics. But again, it's all about hacking, and Holloway seems really overpowered with the gadgets that he had at his disposal. The presentation that is being, that has been going on for as well feels, I don't know, it didn't bode with me. As much as I like the world that Ubisoft are creating, I did not like the presentation of the characters. DedSec, is a parody of Anonymous. They're like the secret hacker group acting as vigilantes, and they all look like a bunch of hipsters. Like Holloway's tight jeans and glasses, which I'm pretty sure don't help him with his vision, and his parkour maneuvers, which are kinda cool, but just the aesthetic, I don't know, that part I'm actually quite disinterested in, as well as the gameplay. Well, what can I say? For sure is that I'll most likely be picking that copy of that, and I hope to shit that Aiden Pierce, comes back and makes a cameo. I'd love to see that. The release date for Watch Dogs 2 comes out for November 16th this year. Now, more Watch Dogs news is that they will actually be releasing a movie adaptation of Watch Dogs itself. So that's a bit surprising, and at the same time there is rumors that Jake Gyllenhaal has been secured to be a lead role for a movie adaptation of The Division. So it seems that Ubisoft Pictures are very busy, and the president of global sales and marketing from Sony, which was Jim Ryan, came out to announce that PS4 users will also have access to Watch Dogs all downloadable content 30 days prior to any other console. So that's for PS4 users. They also announced a special pre-order that would have a radio-controlled wrench drone. So, yeah, a bit of a gimmicky sort of thing, but it's part of the Watch Dogs world. The last game was a completely new IP, which is called Steep. At first glance, I thought it was a game that had to do with extreme sports. The demo featured many mechanics, which was skiing, wingsuit, gliding, snowboarding, and paragliding. Locales, which is located in the Swiss Alps. Now, these Swiss Alps, of course, it's the proper locales, the proper name. They demoed a wingsuit race that looked really good, and they also showed a snowboarding section in which they played just a short amount of time, but in that time, it looked really good. Just the surroundings and the graphics. Though I noticed that there was quite a bit of advertising for, say, GoPro and even Red Bull. So, yeah, it is that sort of, extreme sports that we haven't seen. We haven't seen extreme sports games for a while now. I think that the last one was on back in... I think there was one maybe on SSX. Maybe that was on the GameCube. something like that. So, so the game was stated to say that there's a third-person view and a first-person view, so that can be interchanged while you play. They had an interesting mechanic where you can record the lines that you take, so the lines when you go down a mountain, you can record that. You can even record other people's replays. They also showed that there's different costumes and clothing that can be had, so then you can customize your person, your character. With online capabilities, they showed that you can have like a favorite jump moment or have a replay, and you can push that to your friends. So replays can be shared with that particular feature. Now I feel that the game may be only catered to a very certain demographic. At the same time, I think it may sell well. It's a new IP, it's completely different, it's completely new, sorry, with some interesting features, though I haven't, as I mentioned, I haven't seen extreme sort of extreme sports game for a long time. So I think that this is a welcome addition to the world in which that gaming has become known for, say, like its violence for shooting and blowing up stuff and a bit of sports, but that's been dominated by EA. But Ubisoft are bringing out this sort of extreme sports with Steep. Lastly, they announced that Steep will, or you have to go to steep.com in order to register for, say, like the beta phases, though the game is going to be shipped out in December of this year, so not long to go. A really nice touch at the very end was that they brought out the developers and the commentators that were leading the games of the actual conference to talk about, you know, their thanks for the gamers, the reason why they work, celebrating the company's 30-year birthday. And I really like their end trailer, which was, you know, every step, twist, hit, fall is always a step forward. So, yeah, it was a really nice ending. So, the Ubisoft conference. I felt that they were software heavy with their conference, and that is not a bad thing. They showcased a lot of gameplay, and that was incredible to see. It had its cringiest moments, but I mean, that's overlooked with all the content that they showed. And they had shown a lot of main titles with big names like South Park, Tom Clancy, Watch Dogs, and of course the exception of Steep and Just Dance. But what I did not see in the showcase was anything about indie developers, so I don't know, maybe next year they'll show something like that, or show some other games that, you know, we didn't see for the conference, because they wanted to have like a big strong lineup. And I think that they did a good job of it. So yeah, happy birthday to E3, to Ubisoft at E3. Know that I will still be buying games from you, and yeah, Ubisoft. It wasn't bad.